These are my observations in Good Will Hunting under a psychoanalytical lens. Starting off strong with the name of the movie, Good Will Hunting, we do learn that Will Hunting is the name of the main character. And I just noticed that the word good is, for me, intentional for understanding that everyone is good inside. And we, right off the bat, just learn that Will kind of represents this anti hero. And uh, due to his just nature of living in between the id and the super ego throughout majority of the film. The biggest part that you do not really see from him in just very rare instances is him in his ego. And the only person that I see that can pull that side out of him is Skylar, because he's trying to impress her. So he is very aware, like a conscious and choosing, how I'm going to respond, which is, a part of our nature. What I have really loved about Will's character is that he actually is, and I'm sure it's due to all of his trauma, and being in an orphanage and like having this ability to read people. He utilizes this ability whenever he's having to go into these therapy sessions. And what I love about it, or like what I've noticed in it, was with the first therapist that he was kind of psychoanalyzing himself to try to get through the cracks, to basically, I don't know if he had intentions of trusting someone, but the way that he kind of would, he would try to find the negatives in everyone or negatives in everything to deflect, like not having to like them and to not get hurt. It was like this form of defense for him. And so one of the first therapist that he had done this to, I thought this was great acting. I thought this was great writing, where he basically exposes him for being gay, and the actor or the therapist, like he like whenever he exposed him, he was like almost intrigued, like happy to kind of like someone like sees me in a way. But then we see quickly that the therapist's ego jumps in and like, oh, I gotta protect myself. I gotta protect my image. I gotta, whatever. And you see him cower back in, and instantly Will's turned off. Like he's not interested in anybody that just lives in their ego. And then we see, this is where we really see how this affects Will whenever he has his therapy session with Sean, and when he finds his crack, and where Sean actually responds out of his his unconscious reaction, his knee jerk, to fight back in defense and not back down, and exposes like his true nature as authentic and genuine. This is where he builds trust within Will. And what I have noticed about Sean and Will's relationship, yes, there is a very obvious like father-son bond, and that is necessary, that he needs in order to get to the end of his journey. But more so, I noticed the toggle between what Will actually has on the line versus who he has to look up to. He has Sean, who has taken on this, like, I'm going to choose life. I'm going to choose my love. Sean kind of embodies and sees himself in Will. But then Gary, on the other hand, is this other figure in his life that is like, okay, this is what, if you choose this route, this is who you could potentially be like. And as I said before, Will sees Sean and sees that he lives in his self. Like he lives as his authentic, genuine self, versus Gary, who just lives in his ego, who is very egocentric. He is money hungry. He is a womanizer. We kind of see this play out for Gary. The other thing that I really loved and that I noticed is what it took for Will to really get through his fears, his fear of abandonment, his fear of failure, that being really big. It really did take this trust, building trust with Sean and having that father relationship with him, having and you know, Sean not abandoning him after he pushed him away over and over again and tried to, like, you know, manipulate situations or be joking, things like that, and be avoidant. Then you also see his relationship with Skylar. Skylar, he clearly pushed her away, pushed her very, very hard. And she still, in the end, did not give up on him. Even because after he pushes her away, then calls her, see, like, okay, did I do it? Is she gonna leave me? Like, self-sabotage. And no, she tells him, I love you. Like, I want you to be with me. And the one thing above all, above everything else, the relationship with Chuck is vital and amazing. And it's this vulnerable conversation that he has with Chuck about taking jobs, and Chuck loving him in a way that is so authentic, so genuine, so true. Chuck tells him, expresses him, that he waits by the door and that he is excited if over 10 seconds pass and he thinks that he finally left, and that he would be excited for him. And then this extra push that I think the psychological push in which makes this movie great is that Chuck is like, I know you're not going to do it for yourself, so do it for me. Emphasis on the fact that we need security, we need people, we need to be vulnerable in order to break down these walls and to face our fears. And this movie is the best one. There's so many other things that I just didn't have the time to touch on, but I thank you for listening. Bye.